Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here in Portland, Oregon for Bricks Cascade 2017, and we are about to start a tour of the entire show floor here, try to show you as many of the builds as we can. Joining me for this is expert builder and native Oregonian Grant Davis, so thank you. He will be providing the color commentary with me throughout this.
Just a little bit, you know, to spice it up. I'm trying to fill in for Matthew here, so big steps, big shoes to fill here. We'll try the best I can, though. Yeah.
There we go. So we're going to turn around and start with this incredible build right behind us, which we have the builder Eric here. So if you just want to share a few things about this massive build and kind of what the inspiration was for it.
So this is Mount Hood with Trillium Lake in front. It's a forced perspective 3D picture. It took about a year to build, and I've got about 250,000 bricks in this one.
Wow, and it's a huge box here. So what are the dimensions on this?
It's almost 8 feet tall, about 7.5 feet wide, and about 4 feet deep.
Okay.
And now, did you bricklink everything here? Did you get in contact with anybody from Lego or anything to source all the brick for this giant build?
I can't answer that question. A lot of both.
There you go. Some of that's classified, so we'll leave that for another time. Well, thank you. That's a very impressive build. I think it turned out great. So thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks, guys.
So now we'll move on then over here to the space section, and we're going to kind of do the tour in sections. So you'll notice we'll kind of go by themes. So we'll go inside here real quick and just kind of start right off right here with, I think we'll start with Aaron Van Cleve's great builds here. So Grant, I think you're very familiar with this builder. Space Builder does a lot of great work.
Yes, I've been tracking this particular build you're looking at right now as the progress goes on. There's a lot of cool different functions with this. These guys move up and down. These saws move in and out. I don't know if it's working right now, but I have seen it before. It's very, very cool. And he's got a bunch of other little tiny alien spaceships and other sci-fi looking spaceships that have some really, really nice organic looks. Aaron is really great about that and coming up with shapes you've never ever seen before. Yeah.
So very cool. So we'll keep moving down this direction, and you see a lot of the smaller spaceships here. A nice layout with the dark gate. And then actually running kind of behind this whole thing is a whole monorail layout as well. Looks like they've got quite a bit of track and 3 or 4 different monorail trains running there.
Yeah, and you see here this sort of monorail station they have going here with these bunch of Technic beams and everything, creating sort of like a little dome look, as if this was an enclosed futuristic structure, sort of being shielded from the outside world. One thing I would like to point out about this build in particular is the trees they have going here, built from Lego Technic gears in green. I hadn't seen that before, actually. And I need to get some because that is a very, very nice technique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the green gears, like you said, kind of a rare piece there. But it's also cool just to see this much monorail track, a very coveted piece there. And I think they actually gave away one of the monorail sets as a prize for one of the trophies at the show here.
And I will tell you, you may not be enthralled by that, but people here go giddy over the sight of a monorail set.
There you go. Moving on down here, we've got the SSV Virginia. So this is a really great, huge white and orange spaceship here.
And, you know, sort of the technique he's going for here isn't to be super smooth and, you know, clean cut. He has studs out nearly everywhere, even on the slopes where it would have been easier to make it smooth, actually. So it's just a nice different look, giving it a very unique perspective on what a spaceship could be, you know, because spaceships don't exist, but, you know, future and that stuff. I really think it's pretty cool.
Right, and it's interesting because so much of today's builds are very smooth, tiled over and everything, that when you see this, it kind of draws your attention because you aren't used to seeing that many studs out on a build of this size.
Yes, and I'd like to point out before we go any further, you're going to be seeing a lot of these beetles around here. Just keep an eye out for that. They're basically everywhere around the convention hall. People have been bringing them, and the particular builder, I think, brought around 50 of them.
Is there a backstory to that, or?
No, there's no need for a backstory. You just put beetles everywhere. Why not?
Go for it. There you go. So yeah, you can see several more here. Here's a couple of cool, when your lightsaber fails. So these are a couple of cool swords here. And then down here's another massive spaceship.
More beetles. More beetles.
Yes, there's Looks like beetles on top of the ship here, and I don't see a mock card for this. I don't know.
This is called the Aurora, and the reason there's no mock card is because this mock has been around for so long. He no longer actually enters it to be judged. He's gotten enough awards from this. He sort of just brings it to show the public, and not like many other builders here, and sort of enter the competition we have going on here. So he continues to bring it. It continues to stay intact, but it's not actually entered in to be judged, and that's the reason for that there.
Right. So I should mention at this point that many viewers will know this is the first time that that I have been out here to Bricks Cascade, the first time we filmed videos of this show. But Grant has been coming to the show for how many years now?
I have been coming since 2013, so that'd make me 4-year veteran here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a little more familiar with the history of the builds here and kind of the history of the show in general, which is why it's nice to have you along on the tour.
Yes, it's my only advantage to being here.
So we will keep moving on down here. So I think we're kind of moving into steampunk now. And here's the Dragon Smile. I love this build here. These blades actually move. He had that going during the public hours, and just an excellent, massive steampunk airship.
And what I really like about this isn't necessarily the spinning blades, though that is very, very nice, and how he has them, although jetted out and still spinning and still functioning, is the nice little, I want to say, hourglass shape of the spaceship itself. It's got sort of a little ball at the front and a little ball at the back, and goes a little bit thinner in the middle there. I think that lends to it, the shape really well, and it makes it really unique.
Definitely, yeah. Good stuff there. So some more cool steampunk builds all along here. There's kind of almost a steampunk monorail, kind of custom one-track monorail.
Look at the balance on that thing. I am very impressed.
That's a very interesting build.
More official monorail coming up here. We got this guy here.
That's right. And so this starts a whole really cool collaboration between, I think it was something like a dozen builders that worked on these buildings in this steampunk city. And I think this is just so cool because I love the steampunk theme, and it's cool to see a whole city layout like this. So you've got all sorts of buildings like brass and bullets. You've got cars, steam-powered automobile. Anything that catches your eye here, Grant, that you felt really stood out?
Oh, no. I just really would like to say that thanks to the introduction of the brick, I remember when they were first talking about this at a Portlug meeting, they were saying, hey, you got some red bricks, and that's what is on camera right now, those bricks. You can feel free to jump in the collab, and some here are without the bricks, but they're just fitting the same general, I think, at 16 by 16 scale. And thanks to that, just a bunch of builders were able to come and join the collab, and I think that's a pretty cool way to do things, sort of just open it up to general public and not have a set hard standard for a collab like this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I want to give a shout out to Ben Kahn. I love his steampunk clock tower here. I feel like of all these buildings, that one might more than any other kind of capture the steampunk look with the gold and like you said, those brick-faced bricks that he has on there. I love that build.
Definitely the shaping on the dome up top there, and I also like the bell and how he did that down below.
Mm-hmm. So very impressive. So yeah, this whole, and I also like how they paved it with the 2x2 round gold pieces there as well.
And it looks like they did it so that the train is still actually able to run along the path, even though it's completely paved with the gold 2x2s.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, great job to all the collaborators there. It'll be interesting in the future to see more from those builders. So a few more smaller steampunk builds. There's kind of a steampunk mech.
Yeah, that looks like a sort of a steampunk version on the popular Lego Ideas set, the Lego Exosuit.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There you go. So kind of inspired there.
And moving on here to probably the near biggest mock here, definitely the most gold mock here, if we're talking in terms of color here. But this is a giant collab. I think it's about a year and a half in the making. By Austin and Pamela, their son and mother. They've been working together on this for a whole long time. They've got monorail in here, and I wish it was running right now. It's super fantastic. I want to say around 15 motors running in here on this giant steampunk build.
Yes, and if this looks familiar, you might recognize it from our BrickCon coverage last year because I think we featured this then. But yeah, it's just an insane build, and when it's all running, all the different parts with the roller coaster track and the monorail track, I mean, both awesome tracks there. You can't beat that. It's just an incredible build. And later in this tour, make sure you stick around. We'll have another awesome, huge build from them that they're displaying here for the first time at Bricks Cascade.
Yeah, definitely.
So move on down past this, around the corner here, and start getting into the mech section. So
this is a giant spider. You might be scared from spiders because spiders are pretty scary sometimes. But the way they got the hair on this is using a 1x1 lever piece. I think he probably got it from the pick-a-brick wall at the Lego store. He probably got like 7 buckets of the thing. and built a spider and stuck him to the outside, and boy, is that scary. It's a very, very good look.
It is. It's such it captures that spider look. I mean, you couldn't get any better than those little like lever pieces. So I think he did an incredible job. That's Jason Ruff, and I believe he did the build next door here as well, which is another awesome build, the Atlantis Assault Mech.
And you notice right next to this is another beetle. Shout out to Jason. He's the one responsible for all the beetles. But he also has this giant scorpion here. It looks like there's a gun for the tail spike there, and basically everything looks very sharp and pointy and very red. I'm a very big fan.
So I think this is kind of a throwback to the Atlantis underwater theme that I think was kind of short-lived. Not one of their Lego's more popular themes, but this color scheme was visible in a lot of those sets.
Yeah, the red and lime, or the red and trans light green going in there.
Yeah. A couple of cool builds there, and then another one here. This is one of my favorite builds of the show. I just think it's a really unique, cool idea, especially since we're in this part of the country where kind of lumber is a big part of the economy. Definitely. I think this is really neat. This is the future of lumber and like lumber mechs built by a couple of builders collaboration here. So
yeah, so down below we have a sort of a mech shop to make sure that the mechs are running properly, and we've got a bunch of different things. It seems really realistic to me. A bunch of different people, machining different things, big giant other machines, making sure that they have the power to lift mech parts to repair them properly. Up in the top left, we even have a little office for the admin people to do their thing, run the paper, do the taxes, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So yeah, they got all the both sections of that, the above and below ground, worked out really well. And then here it looks like we've got kind of a racetrack almost, and kind of set off by the orange triangle pieces there is the outline of the track.
A very good use of that. I have quite a few of them actually, and I've never thought to use them for such a brilliant and simple use that turns out really, really well. Mm-hmm. All the different mechs throughout here are really, really well done. I really am a fan of them. They got a bunch of different ideas. They all seem to be on wheels, though, which is interesting, except for maybe a few. But just the idea of them all racing around. You don't necessarily see that a lot with mechs. I like this one back here, this dark red and dark gray one with with wheels for feet and wheels for hands. And you maybe run on the walls and
right.
Use your
off-road.
Off-road, yeah. Definitely.
There you go. I love what they did, and this is really cool too. The kind of the tire wall here against the rocks. Yeah, it's like a racetrack there with the tire wall. I like that.
Mechs have died with wheels to give us this wall.
There you go. And then you've got the stands and everything. So then we move into a whole bunch of mechs. We might have one of the. Did you build some of these up here?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind, just sharing a few words on some of your builds here.
Sure. I've been for the past few years building a couple of like alternate reality World War II stuff, like continuing past the point of almost like a steampunk or diesel punk aesthetic, mostly just by adding legs to what could be a traditional armored vehicle design. So I've had these two artillery ones. I have an amphibious one, a little. I also built the giant walking robot hand with Red Skull driving it. And I'm hoping to continue on the theme of that genre, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you. Very cool. I think that turned out great. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
So yeah, some really cool mechs all along here then.
And if I could point out one mech that I like the most is the hand mech. You got all the 5 fingers crawling along there. Really nice greebles, and Kyle's over there smiling.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. And then down here we have a series of just massive builds right here. So the first one actually is by Jason, who I think we mentioned earlier, and this is a MDF Zorak, I think he calls this thing.
Prime Mantis.
Yes. Yeah, and so this kind of is this color scheme from a particular Lego theme, or?
I want to say Mars Mission.
Okay.
That's got to be the theme.
Yeah.
He seems to be reviving bugs with old color schemes of themes. Interesting idea. But
it's a niche genre, but he does.
I am. Yeah, go for it, man. Do your thing. It looks pretty nice. Yeah. Definitely using that dark orange visors for the eyes there. I really like that.
And the black and white contrast works really well here as well with some of the orange accents. Yeah, I think this thing's just massive, and it looks like he kind of sets it on the foam pads there and works really well. Then this is an interesting large planetary rover 717.
Yeah, so we got, again, studs out. I think this is, it says it's on a 10-year mission to orbit planet Q2508, which is a comparable size to Earth's Jupiter.
We have a nice backstory there.
Yeah, so that's what the sign says anyways. Obviously, there's more beetles rummaging around on this. And again, we have the studs out aesthetic, which is a really, really nice look, I think. And supposedly, if you can see down here all the minifigs, this is a giant, like, sort of Trojan horse that houses a bunch of minifigs, and once they get to the planet, they go out and excavate everything. Yeah, that's about what this is. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that is cool. It's got the nice tan build up in the background there, and then all sorts of interior here at the controls. Some of the cool minifigs there. And we also point out, you might notice in different shots here that there's trophies. So just tonight at the show, they gave out trophies for all different categories for best builds and things like that. So you'll notice these trophies, and then the ribbon says Bricks Cascade Building Award winner. You'll probably see those by several people's build throughout the tour here.
And now we're moving over to some builds by Jonathan Walker. The exact opposite of what we just seen. It's complete curves, very, very smooth, complete like sleek look, almost as if you were just like skimming space, sliding through it, going from planet to planet. This is sort of a Tron-like look, I want to say, but mostly white color scheme with just a very few little light blue or dark bluish gray accents with some translate blue on there as well.
And I love that he built stands for both of his ships here, which I think are really nice. They kind of give that more like presenting a model look rather than just setting it on the table, and I'm sure it helps display it easier as well.
Yeah, definitely. He's got some cool engines on the back of this next one over here. He's got, a sand green with some olive green accent in there. Crazy curve. I can't imagine what's underneath that. It looks pretty thin too, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely taking the spaceship building to kind of the next level with those, and like you said, the curves and the sleekness and everything. Just really nice to see those builds. And they're actually kind of right when you walk in the door here into the convention hall, so it's some great builds to greet people.
Definitely, and he was once again one of the people who was lucky enough to achieve an award here at Bricks Cascade, and I think it was definitely very well deserved.
For sure. And then down this direction, we've got Friends in Space. So this is a whole nother big layout here, and it's Friends minifigs in space. So they're driving mechs, and they have like all sorts of buildings they're living in, the space type buildings. They got the portals and everything there.
Not necessarily what Lego intended with the Friends minifigs, but I think it's pretty cool. We got a very, very bright color scheme. I think it works really well. They're mixing like orange and yellow and lime in there, and then they got over to the purples and the pinks. It works really well, I think, and it looks generally just like a space layout, as if these Friends minifigs were on some stranded planet and they only had their paint buckets with bright colors to paint everything when they were trying to survive on a distant planet.
Yeah, there you go. I love all the Friends colors, like you said, combined with space, because you just don't see this very often, but those are some great colors in it, especially next to the space section, which usually isn't super colorful a lot of the time.
Yeah, usually it's a lot of grays, so to have a nice color that pops like this, I think is a welcome break.
But we do have a few more very colorful ships here. So there's a couple in a row by, I think this is Christian Benito built these, and so these are really neat. I think he won the It's Ship to Be Square award for this because it's a very square ship. So that one fit his build perfectly there. And once again, the colors are awesome on that.
Yeah, and definitely I would take note of the lime one over here, how he got the 1x2 tiles to 1x2 tiles that are generally flat to have a rounded look there. He uses a clip which is able to have two plates or tiles or whatever you want to clip into it, and was able to sort of round them around. And it's maybe not the best explanation, but underneath it's very, very interesting to see how I was able to achieve that look with such a hard piece to work with.
Yeah, worked out great. And then here's a cool chess set. So chess sets are pretty common Lego builds in a variety of themes. This is a space theme here. I think there are other chess sets we'll run into later in the tour, but you'll see all sorts of different themed chess sets, and it's always cool to see how people design the chess pieces to fit the theme.
And now we're moving on to a couple spaceships by Ryan Olson here. He's got on this one, I particularly like the jagged edge on the spaceship there. And he's got underneath it another thing that we commonly see space builders do, sort of a micro fleet, giving perspective to the bigger, around 100 studs long spaceship that people do. So he's got a spaceship that's looks like one brick long. And if you sort of add comparison to that, it really puts in perspective the giant spaceship he has there. And on this other one over here, it introduces another thing of the asymmetricality, if that's a word, of this spaceship being asymmetric. You sort of got this spinning thing there, and I want to dare say that it actually does spin. But, you know, some spaceships don't have to look or be aerodynamic at all to still fly in space and look really cool.
There you go, for sure. So yeah, we move from that then to this is a very interesting design here. You've got kind of the blockiness in the back, and then the round, just like spindly part right there in the middle. So I really like what the builder. And is that like kind of trans-clear chain on the back there?
Yeah, I want to say so. It looks like from the new Nexonite series.
Okay, yeah.
He's implementing that, and yeah, definitely a space themed build.
Very nice. And then, yeah, so very colorful spaceships actually here. Most of these are much more colorful than you usually see.
And this one looks like here the future of, like, you know, freight ships and trucks driving around. You got sort of freight containers being hauled around in space by a spaceship. It's pretty cool. I like the idea of, you know, implementing something that is common today and sort of translating that into space. It's what the space theme is for.
Exactly. Now we move into more of your typical massive gray triangles. So this is a giant Star Destroyer. I'm sure many of you will recognize this from Star Wars. So just a massive, like, Ultimate Collector Series style build.
I've talked to Kevin personally. He made many trips to a bulk collector seller for gray plates.
Okay.
Many times. And I think it took him about 3 months to finally complete this thing. It looks really big, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it turned out great. So those massive Star Wars builds are worth looking at. Then here we have Endor, which is another great build here. You'll notice the use of some alt bricks here with the leaves. So the different colored leaves, if those don't look like normal Lego leaves, it's because they aren't. So alt bricks make some really cool colors that Lego hasn't produced yet. So you can use those for builds like this to add that extra type of color to the build.
Definitely. I think the colors pop really well. I like the spaceships and all the AT-ATs or AT... I don't know enough about Star Wars to accurately... Somebody's going to complain about that. But I think it looks really cool. They got some nice minifig placement over here and everything as well.
Yeah, it turned out great. And then here we see kind of a collection of a lot of different spaceships here. You see some of the old, like, blue and white design, almost the classic space look.
Yeah, classic space is not dead at all. People still building it all the time. We even got some nice little micro space over here. It's still in the classic style, and that's generally, I'd say, 2 colors together, but, you know, you get M-Tron and other things, and they're still fitting the classic space that still has, like, a distinct look no matter what you do to it. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And then we're almost done with the space section here. A few more ships here. Again, some more the gray and blue kind of classic space look. Then here I think is the Blacktron up here. So you've got the several different Blacktron custom ships here, which I think the yellow and black goes really great together.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they're still able to use new pieces fitting in an old theme. Like, I can't point out a piece individually right now, but taking any yellow and black piece and popping it together and making it look like a coherent shape is able to get a nice Blacktron look.
Exactly. And I love this build coming up here. This is kind of a bug type build, almost like a mosquito or something like that. And the trans clear wings work great, and then it looks like it's even got some armaments around the body there.
I want to say that's a Jason build, but it doesn't look like there's mock cards, so we can't actually attribute it to him, but that's definitely something he would make.
Okay. Yeah. Well, very impressive. So I think that pretty much finishes out the rest of space here. So we will make our way around over here to the town and train section, move under the barriers here. And there's a lot of great town and train stuff on display. So we'll just kind of start right in with what's this building we have on the corner here?
This is 854 12th Street. And the one thing I would like to point out about this is the roof design. You got some crazy angles in there to make it so that the roof sort of has those little valleys in it. I've roofed valleys before. They're not fun. Don't be a roofer, kids. Go to school. This was a build lucky enough to achieve the award of Best Small Building at Bricks Cascade 2017. I think it's just about the best small design, you know, sort of farm, ranch house that you could do.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, those angles aren't easy to do. So yeah, when you can get that correct, it turns out really nice.
Definitely.
And you'll notice all the way around here, we've got a couple of train tracks. That there'll be some beautiful trains we come up on here in a bit that we'll tell you about. But that runs around kind of the entire display. And obviously, while the public's here, they have those running around showing people.
Yeah.
And then next here, I love this. This is the Shady Creek Campground, and so kind of the tents you'll recognize from some Lego sets, but they have some great custom trees, and then the hill turned out really nice here.
Yeah, this is done by Alan Smith. He's brought this to Bricks Cascade several times, but this year I think, as he keeps improving it every single year, this is probably the best he's done. He's got nice tents in there, as if this is a complete campground. Yeah, Shady Creek Campground, highly recommended. If it was a real place, I'd go there.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be a lot of fun, and there's even some custom campers and RVs here. So he went all out with this build. Nice covered bridge in the background there. I like that. And then here's an interesting build. This is called City of the Future. So I had not seen this build before walking around. This is very interesting.
Looks a little bit like sci-fi, but City of the Future. So we'll say it's a city build. We'll put it over there. It's got some nice, futuristic blocky texture, as if you see in modern architecture today. We do have some sci-fi figs in there, but it's a very interesting color scheme you don't see too often, with translight blue, black, and dark gray of all colors. I think it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it does. I love what they did with the trans blue for like the windows and everything. I think that's a very cool design. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of expands in the future and we see more of that type of build.
It looks like it. It looks like a lot of this structure is kind of, well, look at me there. It's kind of blocky, and overall you're able to sort of adjust it how you like. And I'm going to stop touching things.
You probably should stop. We'll keep moving on then. So coming around here, we're kind of starting the big train depot, and then several long lines of trains here. So I know Tony Sava, who, if you're a train fan, you're probably familiar with, has been in the community for many years. He's at the show this year and brought some of his amazing trains. So there's a lot of great stuff on display. And we will take a look down here. Now, I have to say, I am greatly lack knowledge on a lot of the types of trains and train building. So, you might have to pick up the slack here as we move down and see if you can.
I'm generally a castle builder. We should try to get somebody around here that knows stuff. But somebody that's a train builder has told me that these are good. So I will relay that message and say that, yes, every single one of these is a good train.
I don't know much about them, but I can admire them, and they do look very impressive. I love just, again, kind of like we were talking with space, very sleek. A lot of these, you don't see many studs, so it makes it look like they can go very fast.
Yeah, one thing I will mention is just as from a design aspect, this stripe of green right here, starting on the front engine there, going back to this, and then going down for all the carriage trains there, and then even curving up again at the end, sort of giving a sense of completeness to the green stripe there. I think a really nice color blocking sense there.
For sure. And come down here, there's lots of more impressive trains here, and I think there's some custom printing on some of these pieces here. This train by J.J. Williams, you got the custom printing going on there. That's really neat. Adds some nice detail.
Yeah, adding stickers and even custom print sometimes really makes a build pop. You got this orange train up here with the 5908 and BNSF on it. It really makes it look like it's real and not just made out of Lego. It looks like a complete model train sitting there.
Yeah, it's very cool. Got a few more builds here along, like a barn. It's like a winery and everything. That's very impressive. I like what they've done there with the vineyard.
Yeah, I agree.
And then coming back around here, here's a set of, this is kitchens. So I think this is kind of a kitchens throughout time. So you see kind of the old log cabin, and then you move into like maybe the mid 1900s, 1950s kind of thing, and then to today. And so you've got these different eras of kitchens here.
Really, really great detailing here. And I know from personally doing some detailing interiors like this that it's not easy. You have to be very specific about which parts you use. And even then, it's hard to place them properly. And I think Molly has done a really great job here with these. And particularly like the one on the right that you're looking at right now. You got great sense of messiness in the kitchen there with all the little things in the sink even.
Mm-hmm. And the pans hanging down from like that trans clear circle. Very cool technique. Yeah,
definitely. Super realistic.
So I think next we have the neighborhood of make-believe, and so this is an interesting build. Not really any minifigs, it's just kind of a setup for, kind of fill in the minifigs and the rest of it yourself.
And if any of you have ever watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you would know what this is. Maybe a lot of our younger audience wouldn't know what we're referring to here, but those that are any older than me even would know exactly what this is, and know that this is a pretty cool build with the accuracy here and everything going on.
And you've got the neighborhood trolley up top there even.
Definitely.
So that's really neat. And then here's another build that I think was at BrickCon last year, so it might look familiar from some past videos. This is a large winter village, and you'll notice use of a lot of the different winter village type sets that Lego has released. And he's even got kind of a scavenger hunt paper here, so people from the public could walk by can look for certain minifigs and things in the build.
I haven't completed the scavenger hunt yet.
We'll have to get on that after we finish here.
Definitely.
And then here's another build. I thought this was a really interesting build. The builder did a great job based on the little engine that could. He kind of built, you can see the inspiration in the book open there in the middle, kind of built the whole city scene here with all the different train engines and the buildings. So I thought this was really cool and a really nice use of colors. The bright yellows, reds, blues work really well.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see off to the right here what is sort of happening here. A lot of these builds are sort of based on the same train layout, and they're sort of just around each other, all connected through. Because trains generally have the same system and same track they use, so it's sort of able to just attach them and go for it and have trains running throughout the entire thing on a bunch of different people's mocks that they all bring to the same convention.
Works really well to tie it all together. And I think here by the same builder who did that build is the Ninjago Temple train tunnel. So he's got the train that runs from there over to here, and you can see use of some more of those alt bricks as well. And then some great mountain building techniques up to the Ninjago Temple.
Yeah, definitely.
And coming around here, you just got some track, and looks like here we've almost got like a skiing village, skiing lodge type of thing.
Yeah, we got a nice brown look here. Most of the building material they have up in mountains is wood. It's right there on the the lumber line. So that's pretty accurate, I think, to what would actually be up at a lodge. Lodge may be defined actually by being made out of wood. But anyway, I think it's a pretty cool build. You got some nice interior details that you're looking at right there. Pretty good bedroom scene, I'd say, one of the best.
Yeah, the tiling and everything on the floor, just really excellent. I love the way that came together with all four of those different buildings there. And here's a really nice kind of cemetery scene called Remembrance, and I like the way they use the tiles for snow. It gives it a very kind of clean look. Sometimes you want, so if you notice the big winter layout over there, it was very looking snow because they used the flower pieces. So here's kind of a much more like slick looking, smooth build, which I think works well. It's kind of different styles there.
Yeah, definitely. Even the tiles on the tree there is sort of just brown plates with tiles on them. It works really, really well. You got some nice angles in there. It's as if this tree has been well through fall and is completely barren and just has snow falling on it. I'd also like to point out the use of the flat silver 3 long little spikes there for the fence. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Oh, yeah. Very cool technique there. Then the gingerbread house, so very colorful gingerbread house. I love all the round pieces on top for the roof. I think that works really well. You got kind of a mud track over here. Some off-roading vehicles going through the mud.
Yeah.
And then here's kind of a big, looks like kind of a carnival almost, with lots of fair ride type rides.
Yeah, fairground going on here. It looks like this is sort of from Batman, and maybe we have a couple other things through here. But it does look like a fairground, and this looks even like its classic space theme. I hate those builds, or those rides. They make me sick.
But yeah, I think that a lot of this stuff also moves and everything, so it's cool as the public goes by to watch all of that.
And look at this here. We got a porta potty, TARDIS. not that TARDISes are relative to that, but not the best disguise the Doctor's ever had.
That's true. He could do better. Here's another. This is Wadu's Wonderland Carnival. So I think you've got kind of a Star Wars themed carnival here, and you'll probably recognize a lot of the Star Wars characters. And looks like here you've almost got like the bucking bronco type of ride there, trying to stay on the ride and everything. So some fun stuff in that build.
I believe this build right here to the right of the one you're looking at right now is a functional track that this four-wheeler sort of goes on here. This Jeep is sort of riding over this rough terrain there. One thing I'd like to point out, that although the function's probably really cool when it's running, is the forced perspective in the back there, getting that cactus by simply sticking a 1x2 plate into some more plates back there in the desert, making it look like it's an actual desert scene. If you get down like a nice little low perspective, you can probably fully encompass the scene and make it look like it's all just sitting there riding.
And that's something I'm sure you'll see as we walk along and show some more builds here, that kind of forced perspective where you build the main part of the building out in front of the kind of mosaic almost in the back that gives that perspective. And then here is kind of a massive Aqualand build, and it's got several layers up there. You can see Batman builds, and you go to the water, and then the underwater scene. It goes all the way up to space with the Star Wars builds at the top.
Yeah, I think generally what it is you're looking up there at space, it's dark, and then you get down lower, it's cloud level, and then below that you get to water, and below that it's the bottom of the ocean, sand. It's Aqualand build, little Easter eggs there. We got Star Wars and Batman and everything, but I really like the way they have it all stacked up to, in just a single build, have like 4 different scenes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very impressive. Now, is this bridge one of Portland's famous bridges, do you know?
I've never been on it, but
I didn't know if that was one that would be recognizable to someone from here, but it might just be a normal bridge build.
I might just be uncultured and not actually know about this bridge that everybody else knows about. But you got the cool little tension bridge going on here. I assume some architect has done this out and figured out that this actually would stay up in real life. I don't know enough about triangles to say that for sure this would work. But one interesting thing here is that this is a solid piece of brick, but you're sort of using something called brick bending, a little bit of wiggle room bricks have in order to be able to get a curve on a solid stream of bricks over a long distance there.
Yeah. Great build. And it looks like we have a vehicle kind of moving on the back here. So what is this?
This is a recolor of the rock crawler set that we were just playing around with. We were driving it on the terrain here. Okay. And, other way. And we just thought it might be kind of fun to bring over here to this one.
Try it out with different terrains here.
Just monster
maybe run over a few other ones.
There you go. I like what you're doing there, yeah.
We're just mixing themes here. Need some batteries here. It's not quite enough.
There you go. Well, that's a cool idea. Crushing Lego is always a good idea.
We decided to try it out we tried to try it out on the terrain here, because these are using a similar suspension technique as the Ford F-150 Raptor of the Speed Champion set, and so they articulate really well on this hill. So we thought we'd try and take this one up the hill with power, and it didn't quite make it up. So it kind of wrecked a lot of things, but it was great.
A lot of fun, at least. There you go. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think earlier they were having some kids actually up here rummaging around with these cars on this terrain, which is pretty well built, I must say, as well.
Mm-hmm. Very, very well built terrain there, especially the rock work turned out really great. So moving back down this direction, and we kind of hit some more of the town type builds with some of these skyscraper buildings.
Yeah, so here you can see that there's quite a lot of these. I think it's garage door pieces they're using for windows here, and a lot of this is just get as many pieces as you can and build as many bricks high as you can on these skyscrapers after you come up with a nice, really cool looking layer there. And on the interiors there, that's something you don't always see on skyscrapers, is somebody going through the trouble of doing an interior on every single level there, or at least, sticking some minifigures inside.
Exactly. And then next we have, this is the Paradise Palms Hotel by Josh Gay, who I think we've shown this to you at BrickCon last year, but I just love this because it's so bright and it's so colorful, especially amid a lot of these town buildings that aren't usually that bright and colorful. So I just love his choice of the bright green here. I think, is that called lime green?
Yes, and if I were to see this in the skyline, I'd be very overjoyed. I know we have a few yellow buildings and stuff in Portland, but we don't always have, I don't think we have any lime buildings, tall enough to be visible in the skyline, but I think it'd be pretty cool to see, a giant rainbow colored city sometime.
Mm-hmm. Very impressive. So moving down here, here's a nice deli building with kind of like maybe apartment on top there. So I love with it looks like maybe a custom deli window they even made there.
Yeah, I'd say so. And we're getting, again, into some more of the red bricks. I'm a huge fan of those, as I already said. And it looks like this is sort of a collab again, maybe a continuation of the one we saw earlier. But it seems to be that people are sort of bringing in their own thing, not necessarily super coordinated, but as long as they fit the standard, they're able to hop in there and join it. And I think it's a pretty good way to run the collab.
And then here we start to get some skyscrapers. Now, I'm not from Portland. This is actually the first time I've ever been here, but I think this might be called the Coin Building on the left. I don't know if that sounds right to you.
It sounds right to me. And again, there's another beetle on there. Jason has made his way over to city, not just, over in the space. And again, this is just a lot of the same bricks here. He's got a really nice, round texture there, and he's got some pretty good other shaping issues, especially on the front doors there. I really like it. But oh my goodness, is that a lot of bricks and a lot of trans pieces.
Yeah, there you go. That's very cool. So then here's just kind of like a massive modular building. So I think they kind of base this off of, I forget which modular building that is, kind of the bottom design there. It looks very similar to one of them.
Man, I'm going to get a lot of people being angry about me for this. The one over here is Cafe Corner. I know that. I don't know the one on the left, though.
Well, it's one of the modular buildings. We just can't remember right now, but they kind of just built that up and added floors and floors and floors and floors until they got to, it might be the Grand Emporium, that kind of.
There it is. I knew that.
Okay. Yes. I knew you had it in you. There you go. And then here's another interesting kind of large skyscraper build. Doesn't look like there's much of an interior on this one.
Yeah, there's a few minifigs shining through there, but there's a lot of gray bricks going there. I think I might have seen this one, or maybe it's from my imagination, but it seems like a nice architecturally sound building here. I like all the window sills on it, all the cheese slopes coming out through there. Looks pretty sleek.
That's a good windowsill technique. Down below we have the zombie coffee cart. So it looks like, even zombies need some coffee every once in a while. And this is their chance to fill up on some caffeine.
Brains are not high in caffeine. You need some energy every now and then.
That's very true. And then next door we have, let's see, the Museum of History. And this looks very interesting. They have somewhat of an interior in there. It looks like some old, like African figures and stuff in there. So maybe like a natural history museum type of thing. I really like the pillar design and everything. That's a very nice looking museum. I think I would want to attend that.
Yeah, and we just got another couple things going on over here. We got, it looks like a Mag and 99 fried chicken and Mexican cantina. So apparently a spin on a bunch of different, fast food restaurants going on over here. And it looks like we got Lego World to the right of that. I want to say that looks like, sort of like a Lego shop.
It does, yeah.
Like
and then the Palace Cinema, or a twist on the Palace Cinema, at least here.
Yeah, this one not extended upward, but extended to the side. You got some more windows in there that you usually didn't have.
And another build that I really like here, the city pool. I like this is a very unique looking build, kind of the brighter blue colors and everything, and the pool builds that you don't see very often. So I think that's kind of an interesting addition, because obviously pools are a common sight in many cities, but you don't see them that much in the Lego layouts.
Yeah, and definitely the way he did all the minifigures in the water there. Some he has without legs, and some he has without a legs or a torso, so sort of as if they're fully immersed in the water there. It's pretty good, instead of, a full fig floating on the water, which is what, if you were actually to put a fig on studs, that's what it would look like. But it gets the illusion there that I think is really cool.
Exactly right. So I think that finishes out the town and train section. So we're going to move down this direction over here to the, let's see, I think Technic, micro scale, and architecture are all in this next section we're gonna take you to. So make sure we don't miss any builds here. We're going to go around. You'll notice as we walk around, you might spot the vendors at this show are generally kind of along the outside walls. So you'll see those kind of along the outside walls as we walk along here. Now we're going to start in this section. There's like a lot of quality builds packed into this Technic section right here. There's so much here.
The Technic guys did not get delegated enough table space. We will just say that. I think basically every single one of these is completely functional. They all drive, they all lift, they all move, everything. A lot of it is, friction pins and Technic beams and stuff like that, but the way they're able to get it to all slide and be consistent, I think, is really, really impressive.
And just so realistic looking as well, like instantly recognizable cranes and front loaders, whatever they might be, the semi trucks and everything, down to the smallest detail, the lights and all of that kind of stuff is just amazing. And then to also have it moving, it's incredible.
I commend all the builders that are able to have a function and then shell it with a really, really nice looking mock. That's, in my opinion, not easy to do.
Then coming down here, you see some more. These are really cool, all sorts of kind of moving Technic, almost nice moving parts.
These guys move back and forth here, but this one you wouldn't expect to work. You might be able to do it a little bit. You can see there sort of that it actually doesn't hit each other when it moves through there. It's really crazy. I would not be the one to test that. I would say 300 hours at least put into there. As well as this guy back here, it doesn't hit anything at all. It's all moving through there, and I think it looks really, really cool when it's running. It got some nice color there as well.
For sure. And then here's a massive St. Louis arch, and you'll see some more of those. I think the Beatles there that we've mentioned earlier. So this is just like a Technic version of the St. Louis arch here.
Yeah, very, very big. A lot of Technic went into that guy, and I do not know how they transported it here to Bricks Cascade.
Hopefully that breaks into some kind of sections, or else I think you'd be in trouble.
Or you own a semi-truck or something. One of the two. Anyway, down here we have another really cool thing. You've seen a few of these, and maybe you played around with something like this in your childhood. But you're able to just position this pen at a different spot. The paper will spin around, and then you come up with designs as crazy and cool looking like that. A little bit of geometry going in there, but I think it's really cool to see done and watch it. You can sort of angle your own thing in there and watch it be done, and you end up with a crazy piece of paper out of it.
Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of ways you can switch that up and make different designs, so I think that's really cool.
I wonder if this one's loose.
This one, I saw him, he gave us a demonstration earlier. This does move. It's run by a motor and all of that, so it does move when it's on. It's a very interesting design, the way all three of the rings move within each other.
Yeah, so the point of all the different rings being in there is that when one ring moves, the others sort of counterbalance, and the minifig stays in the exact center of it. It's really cool to see everything moving, and then there's one little white speck staying in the center there.
I thought it was interesting that when I was talking to the builder earlier, he said that the rings just running by themselves really attracted the adults, and so the adults would come over and watch. But then once he added just a single minifig in the middle, all of a sudden that brought in all the kids, because the minifigs are what the kids love seeing a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely. And over here we have another thing that I think is really cool. These are gear cubes, or gears. That's what the mock is called.
And actually, the builder's last name is Gear, so that's why it's Gears. Gears.
How fitting. Anyway, all of these you're able to sort of twist them. I think it's being a little stuck on me here, but they all intertwine, and none of them jam on each other or anything like that. They all move, and I think that's a really cool bit of geometry and math going in there.
Mm-hmm. I love this build, the Koenigsegg 1 here. This is by Victor. It's a really great build. I love the way he was able to use the Technic parts there and get such a nice, sleek-looking build. And you can see the art, inspiration art in the background there.
Yeah, I always find it interesting how builders choose to translate, a picture to Lego or even Technic here. Mm-hmm. And he has, it looks like nearly completely Technic brick. Maybe just a few system parts in there, but I think it gets to work, and it works really, really well.
And down here we've got, this is ev3.net, so I'm not sure exactly what is going on. There's a lot of like computer equipment going on here, and minifigs built into this whole thing. I even see like an Xbox controller there. You've got a keyboard. So
probably shouldn't have touched that.
Yeah, we might not want to touch the intricate computer equipment that we don't understand. But yeah, so there is something. I wish I could explain this, but I really have no clue what's going on here. But it looks interesting, and there's a lot of cool Lego built into all of this stuff here. So maybe we'll try to catch the builder and do a more in-depth interview that we can link to in the description of this.
Yeah, I'm no circuit board builder, but it looks cool.
Mm-hmm. And in the back here is this is called Fire on the Horizon. So it's kind of a seaplane putting out forest fire there. I like how they did that.
Yeah, got the flame pieces. These are the new flame pieces, are all able to go and attach into the trees there. Mm-hmm. That's just a basic connection that you don't see all the time, actually. But I think the coolest thing about this is probably the string that has the little drops of water falling from the airplane there, giving it a real sense of action, even though it's a solid scene.
Yeah, excellent job there. And here's a few really nicely decorated. We're getting into the GBC, the Great Ball Contraption now, and I love these decorated modules. So shout out to Tom Atkinson, who, if you've watched our Great Ball Contraption videos, you're probably familiar with. He's always telling people he wants to see more of the decorated Great Ball Contraption modules, and I love what this builder's done here with the marble palace, so kind of a medieval palace almost there with that whole contraption. And then down here, the waterfall and the forest build, kind of gold mine build here as well, I think is really neat. So these are really nicely decorated Great Ball Contraption modules.
And one thing I like about this in particular is all the landscaping on the outside of it. And he's even got some micro scale here, a little bit of steps up to this little castle with, right behind it, a really, really well-built function.
Mm-hmm. And then here's kind of the actual running great ball contraption modules. So there are 2 large sections here, and these were really cool earlier today. They actually seem to be running pretty well earlier today. So we had a chance to do more in-depth videos with them. You can definitely keep an eye out for those on the channel as well. We always try to bring you, whenever we get a chance, more great ball contraption videos because they're always impressive.
And this one in particular I haven't seen before. It looks like you're able to sort of just adjust however you want to go, and that's probably for, you know, being able to sort of at a convention do what you need to do to make sure all of the modules are in and able to be connected. I think that's a really nice way to do it. It looks pretty simple too, which is very impressive. Not easy to do with a GBC and getting it all to function properly with minimal pieces.
Right, it's important to be flexible with your modules there because you never know if you're collaborating with other builders where exactly the balls will need to come out at the end of the module.
Yeah. Moving over here into the architecture section, we've got a lot of, you know, sort of model builds, very, very strict on the angles they're going for and the dimensions and everything like that, which is honestly sometimes really hard to do with Lego. Sometimes you need, I don't know what ratio, and Lego just doesn't have it. So being able to get something accurate, I think, is really, really a skill to be commended.
Shout out to Tom Alfine and the Lego Architect book here. He's an excellent builder, and the book is really great, so definitely recommend checking that out if you aren't familiar with it. That's some of his example builds he's got on display here. And then I think this architecture actually won Best in Architecture, this building here, the Balboa Park Colonnade.
Definitely got to commend the greebling, if you will, although it isn't technically space, here on the tan pillars here, even on the arch down below. Really, really great use of the exterior studs showing, and some to the side, some up and down and stuff, to get a really nice, I don't know, rough look in there, as if it was, you know, etched out of stone.
And I love the roof technique here as well, kind of using the 1x1 round pieces there in those darker colors to make that roof technique. I think works nicely.
And one other thing I haven't seen before, I'm just saying now, is the inversed 1x2. I think that's probably a single stud in the center. Maybe it's tiles, but that's just a texture you don't see before. Then that's being used for doors there, obviously.
Kind of flipping the piece around to use the back side of the piece as texture.
Yeah, and this is a planetarium, it looks like. We got sort of an observatory type thing, and has the award of most out-of-the-world architecture. And I get that. You know, it's spying out of the world. Okay, good pun, guys. But this is a really cool build. You got the color scheme you don't see too often here of sand blue. I think that's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's nice when people incorporate those rarer colors into their builds. It adds something kind of a little different that you don't see that often.
And on this next piece over here, we have a really cool rounded roof using these wedge plates. I think that's not easy to do. I've tried a couple times. I don't think I've ever gotten it to work properly. But even then, he's able to, you know, get another stripe along there, which is just another thing to be commended.
Yeah, so this architecture stuff is always very impressive. There's just some really talented builders that bring their skills to the table with this, and some really neat stuff. And then you also have builds like this one to the left here. So I think the mock card pretty much is all the explanation you need for that wonderful build that I'm sure just the builder put lots of thought into.
More like a few comedic thoughts, and then he went on the website, and that's pretty much all there is to it. You got 2001: Space Odyssey pillars in here. You got some little aliens in there instead of monkeys.
Here's a really interesting building. I love what the builder's done with this, with kind of the trestles there almost in the vine going up, and then the way he's done the building there with the single stud tiles on top for the roof and the cheese slopes on the edges. It's a very interesting technique and a nice looking building.
Yeah, a really interesting roof. Good color overall. I'm a fan.
Here's the multi-theme tower. So there's lots of different floors here, and you've got kind of all sorts of different themes going on. There's a skater, Star Wars, several different Star Wars themed floors, space. Interesting.
On the top there, you got a water tower. Every tower needs a water tower on top.
Obviously, water is needed to survive. And then moving down here, we hit the micro scale section, which is always very impressive to see what builders are able to do in such a tiny scale with such tiny, just one or two pieces to depict a whole building or something. So this stuff just always blows me away.
Yeah, I've tried to build a micro scale a few times. I have a creation coming up that I won't talk too much about to not brag or be too humble about, but I've had some difficulties myself, and it is not easy doing micro scale. I've never actually done this scale of particular city-sized blocks. I've done a little more random stuff, but I've chosen not to because it's so hard to do. It's really, really well done. I think this is maybe a sort of a layout of some of the blocks in Portland. I'm not familiar with the area though.
And it's definitely a whole collaboration as well. So there's many builders involved here, and you see these builders bringing all their different stuff, and then it works really well together. They have the streets connect, and then just all sorts of cool about it. I love that General Hospital there with kind of the 3 wings on it. That's a really neat building. The Fortress hood wall in the back there. I think I love the use of the colors on that build as well.
And even down to the right of that looks like a little school of some type. Normal red for red brick there, and all the windows through there using the headlight brick on the side. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then here's another great castle build at the micro scale. The octagon is neat. Interesting shapes and geometry in that build.
Got a little maze here. This is probably the start, or one of the few of the starts, and checkpoint over here is the finish. A couple people are pretty close, but some of them are pretty far off.
Good luck to those maze runners. The blender building, so it kind of gets smaller as it goes down, and you've even got like some upside down car windows. I think kind of the windshield pieces in there.
Yeah, I want to shout out these 2 builds over here particularly. This texture here using these cheese slopes, that is really crazy looking. I imagine, I don't know what's inside that building. Maybe that's like some alien taking over or something. But down to the right of that, you also have a rounded building that's not just straight up, but sort of got a little wibble and wobble to it. I think I can't imagine what's going on inside in there, but something is being used to get a really wacky look and crazy angles on that.
Yeah, and so lots of cool micro stuff. And then here's actually more. This is the downtown Portland. This is like 1/1000 scale, I believe. So this is by Daig's Bricks. You can find his work at daigsbricks.com. And so if you're from Portland, you'll probably recognize some of these builds. I actually think this building on the left here was one of the large skyscrapers we showed you earlier.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So yeah, you'll recognize some of these buildings here definitely if you're from the area.
Yeah, great small part usage in there as well. He's got all the buildings done perfectly.
And then here's just some more variety of the micro builds. I like the cliffside castle with kind of the cliff and the tower there.
Yeah, definitely. That's a nice example of limiting how many studs you have showing. Everywhere except for the grass, it looks like is completely flat. That's a great use of snot building studs not on top there. Over here we have a trophy that was awarded to the micro scale or micro motion at Bricks Cascade. This is a trophy somebody built, which is really, really crazy.
The trophy itself has motion.
The trophy itself. And I think that's like a shooting star or something on the outside of it. I'm impressed just by that. But then the thing that actually got the award, let's see if there's a crank on the back. Oh, no, there's not. Well, I can't touch that, even though I wanted to.
But yeah, there's some cool motion going on in many of these builds. And down here's kind of the Twin Kingdoms. I like that with the.
Yeah, that one was done by me, Eli, and I,
Okay.
my co-collaborator. He was the one that entered it. I just did the kingdom on the right. I was over at his house one night, and yeah, it was pretty fun. I think it turned out pretty decently.
Nice. There you go. Well, good job.
Yeah. Shout out to Eli, though. He got a micro magnificent for his Hogwarts micro scale here. I know personally he mapped out everything, got sky views of the actual castle, and make sure that it was completely movie accurate, completely realistic with everything he has going in there. Different size for the domes, different things going on the top of towers, everything like that. Pretty well deserved in my opinion.
So if people have seen Alice Finch's massive Hogwarts, this is kind of taking it to the other extreme and being very accurate at a tiny scale.
Absolutely, yeah. Even up to the top right there, he's got a microscale Hogwarts Express, also still very accurate, even at basically like a 1 stud scale.
Yeah, well, that's really neat. And then let's see, we'll end out this section with this interesting build here. So it's kind of, you can see the guy kind of placing almost toy soldiers there. So the tiny toy soldiers, and then you've got the minifig almost placing them here in a battle setting. And it's a Little Wars playset. And it looks like this is kind of based on a book by H.G. Wells there.
Yeah, sounds like what we do. Actually, we place little minifigures on things and display them for people. Maybe it's a a little different motivation there, but I think it's pretty cool looking. All the different soldiers, even just with like 4 studs, you're able to get a completely different faction look by just changing up the colors a bit.
The red versus blue there. So very impressive stuff. So that kind of finishes out that section. We're going to move down then to the classics section down here and make sure we don't miss anything for you, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll hit all the different themes and squares here. Go inside. The classics section is smaller than a lot of the areas we've shown you earlier. You can go inside here real quick. And so we start off with, I believe this is Fabuland right here. So here's kind of, a lot of these are Star Wars themes, so like a mashup between Fabuland and Star Wars, which Fabuland was a very interesting theme that LEGO released that had a lot of animal like minifigs.
And here you can see a great example of that. All these sort of minifig type things, but this was the iteration right before they actually came up with the standard minifig today, with some really cool and kind of cute looking animal heads on there.
Yeah, and we featured a few mini Fabuland builds in the past on the channel, so I'd encourage you to go back and check those out if you want to see kind of more examples of this and learn more about the theme. But there's some great Star Wars mashup builds here, like the X-Wing right here, and the bow tie flyer as well. I love the colors. And then this is an actual working, I believe, pinball machine.
Here we go. Here, let's see how good I am.
Oh yeah, Grant showing him who's boss at pinball.
Oh. Okay, we'll stop it there. But very cool, completely functional. He's even got this little guy here for launching balls and marbles up there. Pretty nice.
Yeah, very very cool build, and you can see the different. He's even got a cool backstory here that kind of explains what the different scenes are and how they match up with the Star Wars scenes. And here's some of the walkers from Star Wars as well. But
you may notice that these are completely multicolored and maybe built by children, but this is, I can assure you, completely done on purpose. It's multicolored to sort of shine out from all the other gray builds, and these are obviously Star Wars vehicles here that are just done in colors you never see them built in ever.
These were not terrible builders that didn't realize that they should try to color code. This is done on purpose. Then here we hit kind of more of the classic section. So this is just older sets released by LEGO. A lot of these from like probably the 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, some of these.
Yeah, a lot of these aren't necessarily creations done by LEGO builders, but collections that are being displayed. And I think it's just as worthy of adoration. All this LEGO history we have in here is how we got up to, the LEGO creations we were showing you earlier, but the original stuff is using the same bricks and just a little bit simpler and got a really nice, cool, classic look to it.
Yeah, and so you can see like there's a London double-decker bus, which I think they recently in the last couple of years released a new version of, but that's several decades old at this point. So old classic sets like that are really neat. And here you're getting kind of the town plan layout as well. Some of those old firemen with the just row of gold buttons down the shirt.
Yeah, you got the giant layout here. It looks like this actually extends all the way to the other table, but they're using these old road base plates, something you don't see too often nowadays, actually. They're kind of rare and hard to get, but they still work really well, especially for this classic style where it's, pretty simple, but still has some nice details in there.
And then you've got the Exxon gas station, bike shop there, many of these iconic buildings.
And this one is a Main Street redux. By Paul here. He's sort of taken this old Main Street idea and redone it in a little bit of a classic style, but also using some newer colors and newer parts, as you can see over there.
They kind of updated it there, yeah. And I love that you just point out the tiny little fire cars there, and the tiny fire trucks is just like the 2 bricks for the window and everything.
Yeah, and we were raving about monorail earlier. This is actually the era that it's placed in. We got looks like an original monorail car there that's going around the track.
So that's kind of what the original set that all this stuff is based on. Here you can see one of the old kind of NASA sets, space sets there. Very, very neat with the new ideas set that they're releasing now with I believe the women of NASA.
Yeah. And we move over here to more classic space, and this is very similar looking to the classic space mocks we were looking at earlier, but these are the classic space sets where we get all the pieces for our very cool looking mocks. Same color scheme, same general design. You got big random engines on the edge of things. I think it's really cool to see history and how it's progressed and everything like that.
And the moon base plates here, you see a lot of those in these older type builds.
Yeah, and you got the cool little round tires for the moon rovers all around everywhere.
So lots of impressive stuff. It's interesting. You almost get like a history of the company just kind of walking around this section here in the classic section.
And it looks like we're done with the classic section. We're going to move over to the battle section to start off with.
That's right, yeah. So we'll move out from under these barriers and head right over to battle, and then I think you've also got kind of the medieval castle stuff over here as well. And we start right in with Battlescape by Sean Edmondson, who I think has several builds in this area, so you'll probably see his name pop up a few times, but I really like what he's done here, particularly with the way he's stacked the leaves over there for kind of the hedgerow almost, the hedge that those guys are hiding behind. I think that's really cool, and then this yellow building as well.
Yeah, definitely on this yellow building, the railing here, it's using this double-ended ladder with just a smaller little section connected there. I haven't seen that before. I think that's really good. It all fits still into the stud grid, being the clips on the stud grid are able to attach to the bars there.
Mm-hmm. Works out very nicely, and some cool vehicles there as well. And even all the custom minifigs with the camo and everything are very neat.
And that's one thing to note. LEGO does not make and says that they will never make any war minifigs. So there have been many great companies that have come in and said, hey, we're going to do this, and let's make our own great custom war-related minifigs.
Mm-hmm. And then here you see kind of a layout, a very kind of ruinous layout. So you see the dead troops here. Not much build up. A lot of it's knocked down rubble type of thing here, but some cool minifigs.
Yeah, you got some nice little blood and action and stuff there going on too.
Next up here you have actually, so you were mentioning companies that make Lego military stuff. This is from Brickmania, and you'll probably seen this ship before in past tours we've done, the USS Nicholas, because Brickmania has taken the ship to other conventions. Just a really huge build here. I believe this is it's a Fletcher class destroyer, so I'll get that right there. So that's what this was officially, and there's all sorts of lights and stuff that can be turned on this ship as well. And later we'll show you the massive USS Missouri that Brickmania has here as well. Yeah,
definitely props to these guys. They haul it around everywhere. It's a really great mock, and every time you come and look at it, you notice a little bit more detail that seems to have been added or you didn't notice before. It's really great.
Always adding some tiling to the deck or something like that. Then here's some great military vehicles, some tanks. The PZ-26 Python tank, fictional in the back there. Really, really cool, smooth design. Then almost like the invasion of Mombasa in 2098, almost like a futuristic D-Day scene.
Yeah, this could be put in space, but this is the battle section over here. This is as if, there's a futuristic bunker over there with crazy looking turrets and is being invaded by these mechs coming along there. Soldiers dressed in all black with nice big sniper guns there as well.
Yeah, very impressive. And those mechs are really cool. I like the design on those. Very well articulated. And then here it looks like we've got some cards from like some kind of game. It's like maybe a tabletop game where you use the cards as your playing, attack and defense type of thing.
Yeah, moving over here, we're heading into the castle section, castle/pirates officially. But this build in particular does not end here. It goes, I think, about 10 feet that way. The builder's been working on it for 3 years, sort of in sections, and then bringing it to conventions. And I think it's to completion now. Obviously, here we got this nice sort of Hobbit-looking throne. Even we got some Hobbit minifigures in there, along with like Scooby-Doo in the back. Nice Easter eggs, but it's a really well built throne room. And then on top, we have some nice architecture on the windmill there, and some really great landscaping, great use of the trees, and just the repetition of the 1x1 green fern piece, and the shaping of the grass underneath it, I think works really well.
Yeah, I fully agree. And yeah, he's just done the landscaping is incredible in this build. Like you said, just the size blows you away. And then you find all the different details in here. He's starting to tile all of the pathways and everything, building up I love the bridgeways and the archways between the different towers there. The church over there with the stained glass is really neat.
Yeah, going through the effort to get the angle on that there in contrast to the building that's built straight, I think is really good. The stained glass there, the roof on that is using cheese slopes as well. I like that. Even the arches and just all the small little details here is really great.
And we'll definitely have a more in-depth interview with this builder on the channel, so make sure you look for that.
And it keeps going even more on this side here. He's got what looks like a giant invasion from some evil guys. We got skeletons, orcs, and other bad guys attacking. Got a catapult coming over here.
Double trebuchet over there.
Yeah, but again with the same nice, great landscaping, shaping and stuff. And I really like the waterfall over there with and the river right above it with the it looks like 5 arches on that bridge there. That's pretty cool.
And I believe the builder, he said he kind of updated the Ewok village set here and made it almost like a forestman hideout, Robin Hood type hideout up there.
Yeah, usually I'd say, hey, you should probably build your own thing, but this is a really great integration of a set. I think it looks pretty cool.
And he added a lot of the foliage and stuff there to really blend it in nicely with the build. Then down here we've got Helm's Deep, so you'll probably recognize this from the Lord of the Rings, and lots of cool Lord of the Rings minifigs all throughout this build, and then some great rock work as well.
Yeah, this rock work in particular is really wacky. It doesn't rely on the stud grid slopes and then more slopes on top of them. It has these plates that are positioned really wackily underneath there. I can't imagine the process that it would take to get them to be sturdy. Maybe he built them all here, maybe they're just glued together. But behind there, to get the wacky angle is probably pretty accurate to the movie if I would go check. It's taken some work.
Yeah, I think the builder did a great job there. So definitely sees much big improvement on the official Lego Helm's Deep set.
Yeah, this looks like the particular scenes, the still before the battle, this nice empty space between the two lines. I really like the sand green mix throughout there. I think that's really good.
And then here, Wolfpack Tower, I believe this is kind of an updated version of an old set that was an old Wolfpack Tower set.
Yes, that is accurate, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So that's really cool. So again, kind of like you saw with some of the classic town buildings, you see kind of builders updating some of the older Lego sets here.
And it looks like this tower in particular is being invaded by some dinosaur riders, which is not what you typically see. But, Kevin's a funny guy. He likes to do out-of-the-box things. Kevin's the builder here, yeah.
There you go, yeah. And yeah, even like the palm trees and everything there, it just makes it a really interesting build. And then here, this magical workshop is very cool. Lots of interesting pieces with the vines going up the side and even kind of the stuff around the windows there and everything. Looks like maybe Ninjago pieces there.
Yeah, Ninjago spinner pieces there. An interesting thing that some of the younger builders might not know, that the new fire pieces can't actually do this, but on the old fire pieces, they had these little pins that stuck out of the bottom, and you're able to connect them and wind them around there. And so you have the magic wizard there. It looks like fending off some ghosts or evil people trying to attack him there. Doing a pretty good job.
So yeah, you could get kind of that flamethrower effect almost there with the older fire pieces.
Yeah, definitely.
Then I always love seeing these detailed kind of historical looking Lego ships. This is the Black Sea's Barracuda's Revenge. So you've got the pirates in the middle here firing both directions. I love the explosions and the smoke there created with the bricks. And then the red coats on the right side and the blue coats on the left attacking. I just think this is a really great build. I love the detailed ships here.
Yeah, and then the repetition of the sails throughout I think is really good. A normal Lego ship comes with like 2 or 3 sails. But when you go and have to buy so many sails and have them on a ship like this, and got your string throughout there, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, and we're coming up on some Pirate 7. I know, Grant, you are a big pirate builder. You enjoy building with pirates.
I don't have any pirates here, sadly. No,
unfortunately, but I know you'll really appreciate these builds.
Start squeeing of glee.
Starting here with this pirate's chest, actually. So you see maybe some non-Lego gold elements there, but the whole treasure chest is built out of Lego. So the top and the smaller chest inside, I think that's a really cool build. Even kind of custom canvas here almost under it.
Yeah, and some of the things that are Lego are like this chain here, and some of these bracelets and jewelry, and a lot of the the other smaller treasure chests. Largely is Lego, but there's some of the non-Lego stuff underneath. I think it looks really cool too.
Yeah, and then you've got. Recognize some of the stuff from Pirates of the Caribbean. You got the Black Pearl, Queen Anne's Revenge here, Jack Sparrow's Compass, and again some nice smoke puffs and everything on that ship.
Smoke is not easy to do, and I commend people who are able to come up with great looks like that.
Yeah, and I like some more of these ships down here, and then also just a really great backdrop here as well, like that kind of cavern there with all the gold hidden in it.
Okay, yeah. So this is Pirates, right? This is really really cool looking. You don't have to do barely anything to make it look amazing. Great foliage going on here, and in the center of the cavern there, you have what looks to be the Fountain of Youth, maybe from Pirates of the Caribbean, but either way, still a great feature there. I really like the look of this thing.
There you go. It's hard to see how big the smile is on Grant's face right now, but it's there.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
And we have some more great ships here. I love these kind of smaller ships down here. They're almost like smushed up, adorable little pirate ships on the end here.
Yeah, no lack of detail there, but it seems to be compact detail,
Yes,
actually. I don't know if it'd sail too well. It'd sort of just be like a ball floating out in the ocean, but it looks pretty cool to think about.
I don't know if you can describe a pirate ship as adorable, but I think the word fits in this case. And then here we come to a little more kind of imperial pirate buildings, and then down here is an interesting, not quite really micro scale, but smaller scale castle, kind of the hill build up on the inside there. So, and then a variety of kind of inner and outer walls.
Yeah, a lot of castles did have, a big outer wall, and then the keep was actually up on a hill on the inside, just tactical reasons like that. And you don't see that a lot in Lego castles, but here it is personified pretty well.
And then down here, I think we have what has to be the best build on display here.
This is my build, so humble brag here. So this is something I've been working on for a while. It looks way different than most everything else you see. It's made completely out of bars for the walls and dark tan axles for the top of it there. I've seen some of this stuff done before, similar people doing that, but I decided to take it a step further and take my own spin on it and that type of thing. So it looks pretty fragile. And John, if you want to back up there, we can give an example of how not actually fragile this thing is.
Oh, you can lift it up.
So we're going to take it here, so you can lift it up, and then I'm going to back away.
What?
So I built this completely sturdy. I knew I was going to take it to a convention, and I figured that if people were going to be looking at this, they would totally think it wasn't stable, and to just blow their expectations there is pretty fun for me.
Yes, and I think you even got an honorable mention there in the category.
I'm very thankful for that. Something small like this often gets overlooked, but honorable mention is able to give a shout out to me there, so thanks for that.
Very cool. Yeah, that caught my eye when I walked over. And then here is the happy, sunny, magical Princess Play Castle. So that's just a combination of wonderful words to describe this very cool build with lots of bright colors, tan castle. We got some friends and normal minifigs mixed in there.
Yeah, I talked to Molly about this. She's the builder here, and she wanted to make a dollhouse out of Lego that was still very, very playable. So she, I know personally, has the ability to add more detail and maybe a little bit better color blocking and stuff, but she purposely made it look like a dollhouse. And I know you can see the joints there. You can move it in and out and completely play around on the inside, and it's really sturdy and everything like that.
And then down here you've got I believe you got kind of a Hobbit theme going on with the Dragon Smog in there in his gold room. And then so you spot some more like Lord of the Rings Hobbit characters throughout this build as well, walking through the caverns. I love what he did with the tall rock on each side and kind of the canyon in there.
Yeah, rock pieces are pretty unique in that you can do so many different things with them. Just repeating them on top like that gets a nice little steep look as if it is a cavern or a valley or something like that you don't see too often, and I always like to see built in.
Mm-hmm. Then a few more castle builds here with some great foliage, and then an interesting, this is the Tree of Life kind of in the middle of all the red and black there, so very, very interesting builds.
I imagine that the darkness is trying to encroach on the tree, and then the tree is still surviving and persisting through the darkness.
Very artistic there. And then down here, I think these next three are all Hobbit themed. So we've got the barrels out of Bond, which I love the waterfall technique and the water and rock there in general. I think worked out really nicely. This really instantly recognizable from the Hobbit movie there.
Yeah, I don't know if this is super accurate to the book, but the Hobbit movie definitely. You got some of the elves fighting up there to open the gate for the hobbits to come out, and really great look and accuracy to the movie in particular, with all the barrels and the orcs coming around. You even got Bilbo there still out of a barrel, poor guy, but that's how the script was written, so he had to live through that.
That's true. And then here's a couple of variations on Lake Town. Here's kind of the closer up look of just the Lake Town Bazaar here, and I love what this is. Sean Edmondson, who I mentioned earlier, did a great job with this, with not only the water and kind of the ice pieces in the water, but also all of the bazaar stands, and then the main building there. I think turned out really nice.
And this next build here is actually a collab build. Usually you're able to tell with collab builds who built what, but it looks like Coldblood and Timothy Shortell, you're not able to tell where the line is at all. It looks like they coordinated really, really well and have a great detail on all the different houses around here. Really great water overall too. I think it looks really good, and it's pretty accuracy. Or has some pretty good accuracy to the movie. The snow looks pretty great throughout there as well.
Yeah, so it's cool to see a couple different builds based on the same material there. That's nice. Here's a nice medieval village, and so you've got kind of the classic look there with the black and white lines straight up and down, and some of the diagonal tiles and everything, and then the tiled roofs. So very classic look here. And then the lighthouse almost looks like maybe a lighthouse of Alexandria type of build. Then here's just an incredibly detailed castle here. I believe this is by Micah Schmidt. The detail here is just amazing.
Yeah, so this has been a style that's been, brought to the public's eye through particularly Durfel Kadarn and Leonardo Davidi. He's in particular, brought this style about, and many people have gone to copying it, and Micah here has brought his own spin on it, making it totally his own, really unique look. I particularly like the roofs. They're using a net piece, and then through that he's got some pins and axles and stuff connecting the dark blue and a little bits of light blue in there, and it makes it look really, really rugged and as if it was sort of, really, really beaten down. Now, the walls in particular, though, look like they're super, super old and have been through many, many battles. And then, again, to the landscape, even around it, the rocks are really good, and then the color blocking on the stuff around. You got the nice little path there, but then the color of the trees mixing with the sand and it looks like the olive and the normal green actually down in there. It's a bunch of colors of green to get sort of a full type look down on the landscape.
And we should point out that he was recognized for his great builds, the most stupendous structure here. So nice award there for that incredible build. And then here's kind of very opposite in terms of color scheme, Danica's Butterfly Castle, but there's still some really interesting techniques. You look at the curved walls in here, and all the towers are curved and the walls are curved.
And obviously the color scheme, and I don't think there actually is the usual 3 tall piece that you'd see in there, and I think I actually like the look of just using 3 studs high for the round walls in there. That's pretty cool.
And then a place for the Airjitsu temple, so see some more of this. I love this Ninjago, kind of based off the Ninjago set here. The big battle going on, build up the cliff face a little bit with that set.
Yeah, one thing that is unique and isn't from the set is this tree in particular back here. It's got what looks like just nearly completely made out of old seaweed, probably from the old X-Wing fighter set with Yoda's hut in there. And the landscape around here also is really well done with these ninjas flying up on their magical stuff, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. And then here's Battle of Naboo, so famous Star Wars scene there as well. And Island Battle Lego versus Mega Bloks. So you might notice that there's definitely a kind of a Mega Bloks base going on in there, and then you've got the Lego minifigs fighting the Mega Bloks.
Usually I destroy any Mega Bloks I see, but because here the Lego is winning the battle, we let it slide and represent what should happen in any circumstance of this.
There we go. So yeah, a representation of how much better Lego is than Mega Bloks. And I think that finishes out this section. So now we're at the Bionicle section of the convention here, and you'll notice all sorts of variations of Bionicle builds here. So any in particular that stand out to you, Grant?
I really like this guy right here. First off, with his cape, that seems not like something you see very often with Bionicle. It adds another sense of depth. You've got some really nice claws there as well. Pretty great use of Bionicle pieces in there, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then the next one's the gold and green one. I think is pretty neat as well, which I think won Best Bionicle, the Best Larger Bionicle award.
And that's a great use of the system and Bionicle mixed in there. You see, like down on the bottom on the legs, you got 2x2 like little engine pieces and round pieces in there. Great integration of both Bionicle and system. Best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. And then this build here isn't Bionicle, but it's Green Arrow, and I think it's really cool what he's done with the backdrop there, and then also built the figure with the whole bow there. It looks really neat.
Yeah, great simplistic backdrop, and system head again with some great Bionicle pieces in use here. You can see these little helmets here, heads from old, I want to say Toa. Somebody's going to kill me there. But a great use of the shoulder piece there.
Down here, this is kind of I guess a spaceship built from Bionicle parts. And keep moving around, we've got, I think these are called lenticular mosaics, built with the cheese slopes, and so it changes perspective depending on which way you look at it. It changes the image you're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. I've tried a couple of these myself. They're kind of really, really weird to build with, because you're like, oh, I need to place this here, but then it's the other line, and weird things happen to your perspective whenever you're making them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but they're very impressive when you look at it straight on versus from the right or left side. It does totally change, which is...
And that's done largely using the 1x1 slope called the cheese slope. Probably the best piece ever. Best piece in existence, I'd say.
Yeah. Very, very well-used piece. There's a lot of cool techniques that people use that for. So all sorts of cool Bionicles along here. See some interesting color uses. There's just a skateboard in the back there.
Maybe the wrong theme, but we'll go with it. And this guy here, I know Jason Ruff, same guy that was doing the Beatles everywhere. He's able to pick up this mask and sort of use it as a puppet. And I'm not going to touch it right now. I've touched a couple too many things already, but it's really cool to see him sort of jab forward and clamp its mouth at you.
I saw him scaring a few kids earlier with it. It was pretty funny.
Definitely.
Some more Bionicle moving down along the tables here. I love this is almost like a Bionicle color palette here.
Yeah, it looks like they have quite a few colors I didn't actually think they did have. It even got the new gray and the old gray and the new gray and the old gray mixed in there all the way down.
And then round this corner and we'll finish out Bionicle for us. Some more, here's kind of the smaller micro Bionicles, you might say. These are the 2016 golden masks are what these are here.
Yeah, thanks to LEGO for finally reviving Bionicle, listening to our pleas and our wants, and then, it wasn't actually the best thing, but maybe people have different opinions than me, but it didn't seem the same as the original stuff, which everybody's building with here at Great Mox.
That's true. So that's the Bionicle section, and we can actually move through the middle of that, and we'll go ahead and move out here to, I believe, the mixed section. We'll make a quick stop over here. I mentioned earlier, I think the USS Missouri, which I think we've shown you numerous times now in builds. So we won't dwell on this at all, but just show you it is here, and we have several in-depth interviews that show the progression that Dan Siskin did on that, and then I think we've talked about it several times in tours as well. So it is still incredible. It's super long, it's super detailed, and there's a lot of sailors. It's here in all its glory.
And now we'll jump over to the mixed theme. This is sort of where we throw all the builds that we don't actually know where they go. You got Bionicle or Space or... Well, this thing here is Galador.
The greatest build at the convention.
The greatest build at the convention, the greatest theme ever, possibly the greatest mock I have ever seen.
Very possibly.
Slightly sarcastic, but this could be better if there was more heads everywhere. You take a Galador build, and you just add more heads to things. And Galador, for those that don't know, is a theme they did in, I think, the early 2000s that almost got them bankrupt. LEGO was very thankful that Bionicle came around to save them out of the almost bankruptcy they fell into. But this is a Galador mock, and they're sort of showing it to people. Maybe people will be confused about it, but I think it's the best mock ever.
I just love this guy here. Like something about he's just like has such a determined look on his face as he exits that weird massive purple thing that landed in the lava pit. He just looks like he's ready to go out and conquer the world.
And again, this is the mixed theme, so we move over to some other vignettes, some seemingly random things. Like this is a guy dropping tables from a building.
I like I think we need to show the mock card here. So the cyber criminal terabyte terrorizing the public. Little Bobby has finally snapped. What would Mrs. Roberts think? So that's the mock card for that build. So there's something going on there. There's an interesting backstory there.
Yeah, make up your own opinions about that. I'll leave that to you.
And then there's kind of a rainbow warrior type build there, the minifig towers and all sorts of cool minifigs included in that build.
And again, down here we have another thing by Aaron Van Cleve. We were talking about his spaceships earlier. This is another alien robot type thing he's got going. I don't want to say robot, but I think it looks pretty close to a chicken with a Venus flytrap for a head. That's all we'll say about that.
That's the best way to describe it, a chicken with a Venus flytrap for a head. I think that works. And then What is this you found?
This build here is by Paul Hetherington, and maybe we can position this out this way. Well, this is, and he's known very well for functions on his mocks, and he built this little guy, I think, for one of the little conferences he had here with other builders, just to show all the functions. And here you can see down the front here what it's actually doing, and you get that fish motion through that. And I'm just cranking something on the back, spinning that wheel. But really cool. Shout out to Paul Hetherington for all the great functions he has and the integration to mocks he's brought.
Lots of cool power functions in his builds. And we'll keep moving down this direction. I love the dead man's hand build here. And so he's got the larger playing cards kind of out front in the tan part there, and then also the minifigs playing cards on the table in kind of the Old West saloon type display.
Yeah, and I really like it. A lot of money they're betting there. Dead man for sure if you don't get that, or rather have betted that and you don't win the hand.
That's for sure. Then turn around here, and we've got Tony Stye's. This is the Hex Bug Maze. So this was pretty crazy. If you're familiar with the Hex Bugs, the way those move around, then you can stick them in this maze, and they'll just kind of make their way all the way through the maze. And he's got 5 or 10 of those things running at all times in here, and it was pretty funny to watch that. Very entertaining.
Got another chess set over here. Some pretty nice color scheme going on there. I like the green and the white.
Right, more your classic kind of chess set look there for sure. Then here's an interesting, Marianne Asanuma built this motherboard assembly line. I think she was telling me she actually built this for kind of a convention where they were showing off the actual real machines that she built with Lego here. She built this for them, so massive assembly line there.
And over here we have a computer box or frame or whatever you want to call it out here, and it looks like there's complete computer functions in there. We got motherboard, fan, all the different things, battery supply. You got the 2.5-inch hard drive in the back there, all mounted using Lego. And so you could run a proper computer on this, and he has one here. I don't think the power's on it right now, but it does run, it does work. And over here it has a similar thing. This is, and looks like a server tower, though he's just using a bunch of DVD discs. I don't know how you'd run a good server on that, or why you need to be watching that movies at the same time, but it is a fully functioning server and computer running off of Lego, a Lego case.
I think it's like a pirate media tower, so that's also what all the yes. So that you see that the pirate built into the whole stack of disc burning area.
Pirating media?
Well, we aren't necessarily sure if he's doing it. We won't go that far, but okay. That's just what the build is.
Not many people have that many CD drives, but okay.
Innocent until proven guilty. Mm-hmm. So here we have a builder. Did you work on some of this stuff here?
I did the Daredevil nunchucks.
Okay. So this is, I believe, the wearable section we just came to here. So you can actually put those on and wear those?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can pull the nunchucks out.
Yeah. Would you mind giving us an example real quick, if you don't mind?
You don't want me to put it on, do you? I mean, it looks better on, but...
There you go. Okay. So you got the nunchucks at least.
Yeah, this is more of an old school, 1980s Daredevil build. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. And there's the belt buckle. There's the belt buckle.
Cool. Now, I think is the wearable section kind of relatively new to Bricks Cascade?
I think this is the first year.
Okay, yeah, that's really neat. So it's a very unique kind of Lego type build. You see a dress there and stuff. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that was here last year, and I think that started the craze. Mm-hmm. So, and that's new. I didn't do that, but that's new, and I'm not sure I think they had that purse last year. I don't know, but I think everything else is new.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. So there's some really cool wearable stuff here. You've got the People's Choice Award, the championship belt, and everything. Lots of neat stuff.
And moving over to pop culture here, this is anything and everything you'd see on the screen or music or movies or anything like that. Princess Bride starting off here, and I haven't seen every movie in existence, so I might not get all the references, but I'm sure some of you out there will.
We will point out some that we don't get, and maybe in the comments you can fill us in and help our pop culture knowledge grow a little bit.
Here's a very common meme. This is Rotten with "We are number one" or "You are number one" or something like that. A very crazy meme. I wouldn't recommend watching the YouTube video though.
Here in the back, I think we have the Mad Max right back there. So. That's a really detailed build. I like all the chains and everything. I think captured that look really nicely.
We got Portal down here, Stargate, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Real quick, there's a Hamilton and Burr build. So the whole Hamilton Broadway craze, I think, build inspired by that with the famous duel there. So definitely see some of that pop culture coming in.
Up in the back here, we have Castle Grayskull, pretty similar to a David Frank build I saw years ago, but reiterated once again. Really, really great, unique idea there.
See some Disney themed stuff there. Oh, Frogger, very neat. I was actually just playing Frogger at one of the Portland arcades here, so that was an interesting experience.
This is a little scene from Jurassic World here. Got a couple other movies back there. This one over here, this Alien Xenomorph by Blair Archer. He's been working on this thing for years. A bunch of crazy intertwined stuff in there. The head is really accurate to the movies. I think it looks really, really cool. He, I think, won an award. What is that?
I think he won coolest character. So yeah, that's
definitely the coolest character. It is very cool.
Really great stuff here. Here's Rampage. Some minifig monsters there. Here is an interesting set of builds that I don't think I'm familiar with whatever those photos are from that apparently inspired these. So they do look kind of funny though. Here's the lake they call Michigan. That looks entertaining, whatever that's from. I should probably figure it out. Any clue?
No clue.
Okay. Then we'll move on. Feel free to comment below and fill us in because this looks pretty good. I love the snow. Whatever that's based on, they captured that really well with like the snow imprints in the white build there.
Yeah, and this is an interesting style. We got a Deadpool and a Vault Boy here. Really blocky looking, but you can still able to recognize it, and I think really, really interesting. I might try it sometime.
Then here's a really cool Dread mosaic, which I think turned out very nicely, very recognizable build.
Yeah, My Neighbor Totoro down there with the big whiskers on the giant cat bus thing, whatever that movie is about.
Whatever. Here we come to just another incredibly huge build. So this was done by the same mother-son team that we mentioned earlier that had the massive steampunk build that we showed you. And so this Millennium Falcon has a whole detailed interior and lights and everything in there. And then here is the whole big, this is from, I believe, the latest Star Wars movie. This building does not end up in such good shape by the end of the movie.
No, it does not. This is Maz Kanata's castle. This is the Takadana?
Close enough.
But you got a bunch of different things in here. The color scheme is really, really accurate to the movie itself. Got this iconic pathway here that it was seen in the trailer. Even more in the movies. It looks really, really cool. Rey, Finn, and Han Solo are walking up that, and a couple scenes in there. But I'd like to point out the explosion up top. This looks to be the scene right before when the battle actually came. They got these lasers pointing out with bits of the wall exploding. Looks really, really good.
Yeah, and I think there's even lights inside there they usually have on, so there's all sorts of cool stuff. The next door, we've got a series of 3 Indiana Jones builds. So I love this here with the bridge and everything. I think there's some really cool Indiana Jones inspired builds. You got the crocodiles underneath there and all of that. I think that's really cool. Then next, this is again Marianne Asanuma. She built the Hidden Figures movie, if you're familiar with that. She built the NASA logo and then kind of a Lego version of the poster here. So that's very cool. Merging the movies and the Lego there.
And now we're moving on to another collaboration that I had the privilege of actually coordinating. So this is called the Time Isles. It spans 22 feet, and there's already another in-depth video that we're probably going to have a link to somewhere that we did on this with all the builders here to talk about it. But the one you're seeing right now is by Eli Wilsey. So this is the first one, prehistoric with dinosaurs ramping around everywhere, and he's chomping on something there. He's been chomping for about 10 hours now. We got it and started it when we first got here for today, so he's not very good at chewing food, but he has big teeth, so I'm not sure what's up.
Lots of wonderful gore there. And then this next build, the inner historian in me just loves this. This is built on Constantine's Arch next to the Colosseum in Rome. Incredible detail with all the gold elements there. I love what I believe it was Doug was the name of the builder who did this one.
That's correct.
So really, really great details there.
And moving up the timeline, you can sort of see the pillars we have back there with the dates. We got the Viking era here with some Japan, and then move sort of into castle and Down here we've got a little thing by Aaron Van Cleve. He was helping me out. We got the Black Plague right in there, the timeline around 1200-ish. And then, oh my goodness, somebody put a space thing. I told them not to do that.
Oh, no, not a space thing on a pirate build. Who would do such a terrible thing?
Well, people that like to annoy me. But this is a pirate build around 1500. Got that happening. Then move up a little bit in the timeline. You get, Native Americans and all that. Got a little Western vignette down here in the Industrial Revolution. And then you move over to, looks like World War I, discovery of King Tut's tomb, World War II. Another build by me, and shout out to all the builders through here. We got Cole, Tim, Kevin, Doug, everybody, Rove Random, VA.
I think that door's been running for several hours as well.
It has. I built that function not that much time, and thankfully it was a very, very lucky first try. It was pretty much a perfect function, and so it's been going for a long time. The Doctor Who there, we have, time traveling around. He's in the modern era, making that garage door go up and down. And out front we have, some tracks from the DeLorean, which then over in the post-apocalyptic era has just appeared. Marty and the Doc being captured here by some crazy guys. And out in the future we have the first contact with aliens, and then this octane gas station. And that is 22 feet of a timeline. Some of it's not super historically accurate, like these last two that are from the future, but it was a lot of fun coordinated with the guys, and there's already another video explaining more in depth about all this stuff.
Yeah, and I think it turned out really great, especially this Octane with the kind of the Octane theme that Lego's had for a while, building off of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Then here, I think to finish out this section, we've got a nice fire police area display here, and that finishes out kind of the mixed and pop culture, so we'll head further down here. I think we have superheroes next. Go back under the bar. Like I mentioned earlier, you can see along the wall, a lot of it's covered up, but you can see along the wall here is some of the vendors that are here. So obviously as the public comes through, they really like buying from a lot of the vendors, all sorts of cool products for sale here. And we'll start right in at the corner here with superheroes, and you can see a lot of instantly recognizable logos. This is the Justice League emblems. So you've got, I think, like Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman in the front here. I think that might be like Green Lantern in the back, and I don't know if I can name all of these or not.
Flash on the right. I don't know the one to the left of the Flash.
I think it's Aquaman, I believe. Yeah, I think that's his fig up there on the top. And then the very left, I don't know. Yes, you can see the fig there, so that would probably explain it.
I build too much to have enough time to watch superhero movies.
There you go. I think we got most of them, though.
We got a really cool iteration of Thor's lightning here, using some droid arms in white and some bones. I think that looks really cool. I've never seen that before.
That's a nice lightning effect there. And keep moving down here. You've got scenes from different Marvel movies, different superhero movies.
Yeah, we got some lights going over here on the Disco Joker, sort of, personifying the Joker's personality. Very, very extravagant and very evil and creepy and smiley.
And then several Maxifig builds here that I think are really cool. So, like Ghost Rider, which normally his head lights up and everything, and I think that's really cool. And Deadpool and Hulk are very impressive.
And yeah, several more over here as well. It looks like we got a bunch of different figures. We got Captain America, Thor, everybody, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow.
Shout out to Dan Parker, who I think comes down here from the Seattle area and brought these really cool figs he worked on. He's even got a Stan Lee there, and it was the plaque at the bottom here was signed by Stan Lee. So some really cool stuff from him there. Then here's Stave Puff Marshmallow Man versus Star Wars clones. Nice mashup. Batman clones versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, that's what it is. So cool mashups there.
I'd like to point this one out over here. It looks like we got a Hulk and a few other superheroes in a boxing match. So this is a Big Fig Battle Royale. That's what these guys are called here, Big Figs. You're all able to switch out the arms and everything on them. You got just a bunch of superheroes fighting out, probably to the death.
Very cool detailed mosaic in the back there. I love all the intricate details there, and even the little bats and everything.
And about that mosaic specifically, you can see some angles in there with the bats, and maybe some of those are stickers and a few different things, but they're also sideways building and upwards building, and not just a single way and a single orientation. There's a lot of work that put into that to get it to be a solid wall with a bunch of bricks angled different directions.
Keep coming here. Best 3D movie ever, and this is a battle actually taking place in the theater. Here's the House of Mystery from Justice League Dark, so you can kind of see the comic that inspired this, and a great building there with all the heroes fighting.
Next, we have a scene, it looks like, from Aquaman versus the Black Manta. So one of Aquaman's arch nemesis, I assume. I haven't followed his comics too vigorously, but I would like to point out the teeth on the whale over there. So that's anti-studs with then 1x1 dark red studs that have a hole in them, so you're able to plug the teeth in there. I think that's really cool. A great use of that. Get the whale to look very menacing and like he's going to chomp you down there.
The whole design of that whale is just really nice. I really like the way the builder achieved that. Then Avengers versus Ultron here. So if you followed the Marvel movies, you'll recognize that. UCS Ultimate Collector Series Speedwagon. I like what the builder's done there, kind of making it bigger and better.
We got a little itty bitty version of the Fortress of Solitude over here. We got a couple other heroes that might not be supposed to be there, like Batman, and we got Robin down below. But this is definitely a great iteration of Fortress of Solitude with the crazy crystals poking out, and you got the trans pillars to represent that.
You recognize some Guardians of the Galaxy kind of poster shots there. And then Mr. Freeze's ice attack. I love that the mech there is just really well done. Lots of details, really well articulated. Even the base and everything, that's a really great build. And then here is just a massive bat cave. This is Wayne Hussey, and I believe he collaborated with Carlisle Livingston on this. And they did this build several years ago now, but he just recently brought it out to display again. And he actually won the Up and Away Bricks Cascade Award here. You can see Superman there as his award. And there's lots of lights that are usually on in this build, and there's even some movement and stuff. I love how he built the whole kind of surrounding cave and not just the bottom of it.
Yeah, it really gets a sense of that it's completely underground. And they give some facts up on the top here. It took 12 weeks, 45 days, 800 hours, and 20,000 plus parts.
All sorts of great stuff here. Oh, and we're coming up on a build that we conveniently have some builders nearby here for. So I believe we have featured this build in the past, but while we're on the tour here, it's good to...
With Sausage Lug again, yes. BrickCon 2016.
Yeah, that's right.
A few months ago, so it's late. It's currently 11 o'clock on the West Coast, counting daylight savings time. So yeah, we brought it back. This is its last thing beforehand. However, it's changed previously. We've got some different stuff and all that because I forgot a box at home. So there's no Quinjets. I borrowed an Ant-Man from Dan.
This is what happens when you rely on JJ to bring stuff for your build.
Well, when you're doing the social media, I've gotten probably 16 hours of sleep this week.
Okay, so that's a good excuse. Yeah. We'll accept that.
So it's the good thing of our theme for the convention was building friends one brick at a time.
He's using friends one brick at a time.
I am totally anything I can do. I'm using them one brick at a time. So yeah, we've changed from before. If you see the other video on the channel, we changed some stuff out. So we've got Chris Pratt, all sitting together to be buddies. Some Teen Titans, a bunch of Batmans, a little bit of the Justice League, and this little different stuff here and there.
Did you let Jason put some Beatles in your hanger?
I did. Very good eyes. Yeah, so it was the call out of I didn't have anything to throw in the hanger, and I showed up and was like, oh, by the way, Jason put some Beatles in there. And then Kyle has got Venom Mariachi going on as well. So with the Saturday to Sunday convention transition, everybody invades everybody. So then we've got, the Iron Legion on coffee break, a bunch of Ultrons taking a nap. Then you've got our little ode to everything that city-wise comes with a red coffee cup. So we've got the monolith with the monkeys back. We've got the sausage lug zombie army in the back as well. So yeah, it's kind of the same stuff we had before. And then the lovely skid-marked runway that's getting recycled after the show.
There you go. On to bigger and better things. Well, thanks for the info, the updated info on that. And yeah, we'll make sure to put a link to the original video that we shot with them at BrickCon in the description of this one, so you can check that out in its completed form when everything that showed up was supposed to be there. So I think that finishes out the superheroes for us. We're going to keep moving down this way and try to show you the rest of the convention here.
And this section over here is just sort of a continuation of the town and train theme. There's so many builders that show up for it that they needed another section of tables here.
So yeah, we'll move through this here and show you some of the buildings. I love right off those kind of softer colors here. The purples and kind of softer yellows and everything.
I don't think I can name all those colors.
Yeah.
I know I have a few of the parts in them, but definitely I didn't know there was that many bricks that you're able to build those great look of housings with.
I really like that. Then keep moving here. Here's kind of a cool train station. I like that. Church with a nice cutaway section so you can see inside there. That's interesting.
And got some more of the signature train track over here. You can see down the line here, straight through. You're looking down the entire railroad there. A few train stations, got a bridge or two in there. Some nice looking round trains as well back down there.
Mm-hmm. Little train station type area here as well. And like I mentioned with the other train area, they have these double, even triple tracks at some points. And normally they would have these trains running on these while the show was going and the public was here. And here's just all sorts of cool detailed trains set out. So this is the Ridgefield Brick Built Train Club is what the sign says. So I think they're the ones who kind of did this layout here.
Yeah, and that's probably why it's separated from the other section over there.
Come around here. Here's like an Old West section. So a set that's always been very near and dear to my heart. Lots of great memories growing up playing with this Fort Legorado here. So whenever I see this in a display, I really like it. And you can see the cavalry leaving the fort and going out down this direction, past the Old West City, past the cornfields, and to the Native American area here where it looks like a battle might be about to start.
Watch out there.
And then round the corner here, and I think that pretty much finishes out this kind of town and train.
Look
But
at this donut shop here. Look at that donut.
that looks amazing.
You know, it's been a while since dinner. I'm pretty hungry now.
Donuts sound pretty good right now. And then also mention the monorail track in the background as well. Once again,
Monorail.
So come out from this section, and I think next we have a Lego physics section. And so what this is, I believe, was a local school group here in the Portland area brought this, and it's all these different sections that kind of show the physics and different types of physics related stuff going on. And so you've got springs and moving stuff, and when this is running, everything is moving. I think it's much more impressive when it's actually running because you can see what it's supposed to do and everything. So for instance, here is this big windmill, and the way it works is kind of through solar, and so if you block the solar, then the windmill doesn't run. And so that gives a whole demonstration of how all of that works. So do you see a name for the school here? I'm trying to remember what the name of this the name of the school was here. And it looks like Oregon Episcopal School. That was the name of it. So there you go. So they brought this whole display out, and it kind of combines Lego and some other elements and shows all this different physics related stuff here. So this is very interesting.
Got another search and find here. This has been here I think every year that I've been here. I still haven't completed this search and find.
One of these years you'll get around to it.
Yeah, I might spend several hours tomorrow finally, coming to completion with that.
Some more Lego mazes. So we've shown you a few variations of mazes so far. So yeah, that's the Lego physics section. Very kind of hands-on, a lot of stuff to watch there. Then we'll move over this direction. I think this is the art section, I believe, is next. And we can start with these two huge Minecraft builds. So Minecraft is obviously a very popular game. And they built this, or printed this great backdrop, and then had these two big builds here.
And just to give you a sense of the size, I'm going to go and stand over there. And I'm 6'2" tall, so...
We'll have Grant model here next to the... There we go. That gives you a sense of how tall the creeper is, and then the pig as well next door. So I love how they were able to build those so big and print the custom background. Wonderful stuff there.
And yeah, now moving over into the rest of the art section. So we got some sort of sculptures here that are sort of more artistic than you'd see in other places. You got, I don't know, there's probably a really good meaning behind the Statue of Liberty. They're done in dark red.
Yeah, so this is, I believe, Dan Parker, who I mentioned earlier, that did the Marvel big Maxifigs. And so this is a statue of the People's Liberty, and kind of if history had gone in a different direction and Moscow ended up with the Statue of Liberty. You can see them kind of marching through the streets and everything. So I think that's a very interesting build there. And then yeah, you've got all the Winnie the Pooh themed builds, which won best 3D art, I believe. And so if you're a fan of Winnie the Pooh, you'll instantly recognize all of that.
And yeah, you know, you got some pretty cool things. Yeah, I like the pink on that little tree there. This guy in the back here with the orange house looking thing. It's, I believe, is done very purposely with everything going on there, representing, you know what, whatever it could be. Art can mean a lot of different things to different people. And while we're here, this is the last build I have here. This is my steampunk Lego pop-up book, so I'm going to go ahead and display that for you guys.
Yes, yeah, give us a demonstration here. And we should mention real quick, I believe this is on Lego Ideas, if I'm not mistaken.
Not to plug myself too much, but yes, it is. Go ahead and vote for it. If
yes,
you
definitely. I would highly recommend it.
So here we go, Lego pop-up book. Oh, my chicken fell off. We'll put that back real quick. This guy is able to, you know, open and close pretty seamlessly. And we got the back here. And I'll show you the function. It doesn't look that great without the gears spinning, so we'll get those spinning here. Get this guy out. And you take this little thing I got from the treasure chest back there.
Oh, there you go. You get the movement going on.
Yeah. Well, it took me a while to make this, and I think it turned out pretty nice, and it's sort of able to be disguised in the art section over here if you just close up the book and say, yeah, that's a piece of art. But in reality, on the inside, it's got a completely different themed and steampunk look in there.
So yeah, that's very cool. So we'll make sure to put a link in the description of this video to the Lego Ideas project for that. Go and check it out. And I think you guys are well on your way to achieving your goal there. So definitely go give that a vote and help them reach the goal.
And this mountain here, it might be representing Mount Hood. Yeah, it looks like it is. The interesting thing they did with the rock work and sort of snow work, if you will, is that instead of building straight up, they had looks like a plate on the back and built out and forwards. A really crazy look, and it seems to be different every single angle you look at it based on just the 3D nature of it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's a definitely different type of building. Here's Gwen and Jonas, kind of large children's bedroom letters. So you might see like foam type letters. They kind of look like that's sort of the Lego version of that.
And this is sort of a mosaic type thing here. We got a little color palette down there. Good use of studs and different shades of blue and different things in there.
Oh, cool NASA build here. I like this.
Looks like a NASA wants you type
Almost
deal.
like
so
one of those old like recruiting posters or something.
definitely, that's probably what it is.
The lost island of Duplo there. This is clearly a castle. Wonderful pun because it's a clear castle.
Oh boy, okay.
We'll move on. Friends around the world. So this kind of ties into the theme, which is, I think JJ mentioned earlier, kind of like making friends one brick at a time, I think is the theme this year.
Yeah.
So you see friends all around the world there, kind of ties in nicely with the theme.
And good work with the trans pieces all over there as well. Like the world that's represented there, the continents on that's really good.
Here's a cool calendar. So I like this, a 2017 calendar. And so for each month, they've kind of chosen a holiday or some significant events. You see March has St. Patrick's Day, all sorts of cool stuff there. July has the barbecue going in the fire pit.
And I think those are not custom printed pieces, actually. I think Lego produced a Lego calendar, and they probably bought a set and decided to go for it here and build their own custom things to go on top.
Here's Friends, the word Friends built with some cool Friends kind of blocks and pieces. I like that. A late night trophy building down there, so you can see the micro pieces there. So all these trophies that are given out at the show are built by fans.
And this is a great artistic piece here just to the left of that. This looks like a woven basket with a little meal. Got some ants crawling over there to get to that apple. Great job on the basket itself. It looks to be made out of just nearly one piece. I think 4x4 single brick wide curve piece, a brick tall. And the pie there is really cool too. And it got an honorable mention in the art award.
Yeah, there you go. Here's another mother build, kind of combining Lego and technology. So that's interesting with all the using the 1x1, the tiny pieces there to build the motherboard.
And over here we have some nice big bricks. You might recognize these pieces as actually being representations of actual Lego pieces, but they're just big this time. So You got a bunch of different 2x2 tiles or whatever, and it looks really cool to see them bigger. You're like, whoa, double take all the time whenever you come over here.
Like blown up versions of the builds. Yeah, I like that.
All right, I think that's it. Now we go over to the last section, the mosaics.
That's right. The photography, I think, starts with photography, which I believe is the maybe first or second year at the most here, and then we'll end with the mosaics here. So the photography section is actually very impressive. This is something to be cool to see more conventions start doing, because there's a lot of great talent on display here.
Yeah, online, whenever you look at something, half of the work into a good mock is into the display, the photography and everything. This looks like some outdoor photography and stuff, and it's not easy to get these good photos.
Right, like the Beatles' Yellow Submarine and the surf there, I think is a really cool idea, kind of sitting on the beach.
They probably had to wash that off dozens of times, sitting in the sand there to get that good photo splashing around that.
The VW along the water there as well. And then I love the ghosts, the lighting and everything on the ghost photo there is really neat. Take a day off, kind of running through the forest almost there.
And this one coming up here, we got the saying goodbye. That's pretty sad.
It's even more artistic type of photography there.
Yeah, we got the very single perspective. The front's blurred and the back is blurred, but right where the focus is supposed to be is where the focus is.
And then I think there's a TV here that usually displays some kind of maybe like real-time kind of live photographs that people are taking at the show. And cool. So there's like a Lego build. I think this build is on display here at the show actually, and there's just a photograph of it. So like you were saying, a lot of the builds online, a lot of it comes down to the photography.
Yeah, and that definitely is a good photograph.
Here's a lot of minifig photography. So I know recently, like minifig photography on Instagram is just blowing up. There's a lot of people have started doing that, particularly on Instagram. It's a good platform for that. So you'll see a lot of this type of stuff on there.
A lot of pictures that if it was sort of blurred, you wouldn't actually think was a picture with a Lego minifig in it. You'd think, oh, that's a blurry picture of somebody out in nature or out doing something. And then you come in focus and it's just a minifig out with really, really good photography skill.
So that kind of finishes out the photography for us. Here we hit the mosaic section, starting with Tigger and Roo. So there you go. You've got another Winnie the Pooh themed mosaic there. Very nice and smooth build. I think that kind of just going straight up with studs on top there as well. Then I believe these 4 mosaics are all done by Brickmania. So I think we've shown you some of these in the past at least. They bring these to several shows, and these are famous historical figures from generally like the World War II era.
This next one down here, this Venom mosaic, a scene from Spider-Man, or just the face of Venom, his arch nemesis there. Really, really flat, but it still has nice features to it, which is pretty hard to do for a mosaic. Yeah,
and then here is a neat one. This is kind of built in loving memory, kind of a tribute almost here. So I really like that, doing that as a tribute build. Here's another one of the lenticular mosaics, and kind of changes your perspective depending on how you look at it. And then I believe here, this is called R Cascadia, and the idea here was kind of a quilt type design where everyone brings in their own square. I think it's at 16 by 16 squares, studs wide, and then it kind of depicts different parts of Oregon and Portland.
Yeah, definitely. And you have some of them where they're taking up multiple, like this bridge down here, it takes up 2 squares, or the mosaic up in the top right. I think that's probably airport flooring. That's gone viral in recent years.
Oh, right. Yes, I've heard several different stories about how passionate people in Oregon are about the PDX airport carpeting.
Yeah, I may be wrong. That doesn't look super familiar, but, still able to take up 4 squares and be a part of this here.
Keep going down here. Here is Christina by John Stye. So this is something I feel like you have to stand a little further back to really get the full effect for this, because once you get up close, then it just kind of all starts to run together. But if you stand a little further back, I think it looks very nice.
Maybe try squinting your eyes. You'll be able to see it a little bit better.
There you go. And keep coming down here. This is Bones, the Star Trek medical logo. So if you're a Star Trek fan, you'll recognize that. And finally, Serenity, the Firefly movie poster here as well. And
then one final build. We're coming over here. This one's on a little stand by itself. This is a dark green organ with, on the outside, a bunch of jewel pieces that I think that's flat silver jewel or crystal type thing coming in there. And I think that's the last build. I really do like this one, but Josh, do you have anything else to say?
yeah, well, it works really well. We actually have another here. I just saw this sitting on the floor. So here, the carpet we mentioned earlier, this is a kind of a mosaic tile depiction of the old PDX carpet, which I think was recently updated.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the new carpet over there, or I'm completely wrong, and that's just some other mosaic. But there we go. There's the official last mock here.
Yeah, so a couple of nice organ-related builds here to finish out our tour. So I think we can look around real quick, but I'm pretty sure we hit all of the builds here at Bricks Cascade. And then you, like I mentioned earlier, you've usually got vendors around the outside. And then here, actually, which most shows don't have, especially in the U.S., they have a food court inside the convention hall, which is pretty unusual for most U.S. Conventions to have.
A little bit overpriced, but still, if you're in a pinch, you have the opportunity to go get some food without walking half a mile.
Yeah, so it's nice. So I think we tried to show all the builds. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I really appreciate Grant helping me out here with this tour. So I think he definitely lent a nice expert voice there to a lot of the commentary.
Touched a few mocks, made a few remarks. That's where I'm at here.
It all works. So we appreciate all of you watching, and I hope you'll enjoy our more in-depth interviews as well from Bricks Cascade.